Things don't always go to plan on live TV, and sometimes when celebrities go on Saturday Night Live, they expose themselves with a really embarrassing moment, or they get exposed by someone else. Today on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, we are dishing out some celebrities who were exposed on Saturday Night Live. I'm your host for this one, Joss Bedard. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss our next video, and also leave a like on this one because it really helps us out. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Ashlee Simpson. While it's no surprise anymore that singers will lip sync their way through a performance, her lip sync fail was one that has gone down in history. It's hard to forget that performance, which happened on SNL back in 2004. It was that thing that pretty much ended her career. I feel like once people catch you lip syncing, they have a hard time trusting your talent because they don't know what's real and what's not. If you haven't seen it, she was performing her song and the music tracks started playing behind her as she started singing, but the timing was very off, so it revealed that she wasn't actually singing and that she was just mouthing the words to the track behind her. Isn't that great? It was extremely awkward because they actually had to stop and reset the track, but by that point everyone knew that she was lip syncing. You can tell she didn't know what to do with herself, so she just started doing this really weird, awkward dance trying to laugh it off, but it just made the whole thing even more awkward. I still get secondhand embarrassment from that. Up next, number 9, we have Adrian Brody. Not everyone has a good hosting experience on the show, and Adrian was so bad that he was banned from the show. After his appearance back in 2003, he was removed from the list of potential future hosts because he went on stage in blackface. He walked on stage to introduce Sean Paul, the Jamaican reggae musician, and wore fake dreadlocks and talked in a fake Jamaican accent. For obvious reasons, people were offended by his little comedy skit and said it was cultural appropriation. The producer at the time, Lorne Michaels, was not thrilled with this decision either and said he had no idea that he was going to do that. It has been said that celebrities who appear on the show will often go unscripted while hosting, and it's not always a success. He was banned from hosting ever again, and in 2012, another celebrity went on the show to impersonate him. That's when you know you've messed up, when you end up in like an SNL skit of people making fun of you. Cruising into number 8 is Martin Lawrence. Back in 1994, people were thrilled to see him on the show, and by looking at his resume, he would be the perfect guest. He is known for being an actor and a comedian, so a monologue would be no problem for him, and he would guarantee a laugh from the audience, right? Well, not quite. It really just depends on what kind of humor you have. During his opening monologue, he went a little too far with his humor and started using inappropriate language. His jokes began to reference hygiene and the female body parts, private parts, and he used a bunch of curse words and just was basically out of control. Of course, this was not in the original script, but like I said, a lot of people like to improv when they go on the show. He was banned from the show, and the good news is the monologue was able to be edited in a way that they could remove most of it, so it did not damage the ratings that much. Yeah, probably not a good idea to make like hygiene jokes about female body parts. What? Coming up next, number 7 is The Replacements. The band was on a rise the year before their SNL performance, as they hired a New York management company and started to break out into the mainstream media. They came from the underground scene, and cleaning up their image was tough because the guitarist Bob Stinson had some drug and mental health issues, and tensions within the band seemed to be driving them apart. They went on SNL as a last-minute guest, replacing the original act, the Pointer Sisters, who canceled just a few days before. The band performed one of their songs completely wasted and completely out of tune, so Lorne Michaels banned them from returning to the show. Apparently, the band performed well at the early evening pre-taped dress rehearsal, but one of their crew members smuggled alcohol into their dressing room, and they spent the last few hours before the real show getting drunk with the guest host, Harry Dean. They were so drunk that on their way to the stage, Bob tripped and fell over his guitar and broke it. Like, you can't even fake being sober at that point. Up next, number 6 is Sinead O'Connor, a talented singer who rose to fame during the 80s and was often known for her controversial views about politics and other personal beliefs. Seeing as she had no problem speaking out about her strong beliefs, it wasn't all that surprising that she got banned from SNL after expressing them during one of her appearances. Many people tune into SNL for a good laugh, but her performance gave off a very different kind of vibe. She was invited on the show to perform, and while while she was singing a cover of Bob Marley's War, she took out a picture of Pope John Paul II and started reciting the word evil, and then went on to rip it in half and say, "Fight the real enemy." The audience was left in complete shock and didn't know how to react to such a bizarre performance. She was banned from the show, and people talked about her performance for a very long time after that. I mean, we're still talking about it today. Halfway through our list, number 5 is Cypress Hills. The now iconic Californian hip-hop group made major headlines in 1993, and that is because they caused quite the controversy during their time on SNL. Marijuana was illegal at the time, and DJ Muggs, a member of the group, felt like he needed to make a statement about it during his performance. When appearing on the show, SNL, as well as his manager and record label, told him that he could not smoke up on air. One of the members later revealed that they all agreed they were not going to light up anything during their performance. But DJ Muggs rebelled and lit one up on stage, which the audience loved, but the producers did not. SNL immediately banned them from the show and also pulled their episode of ever appearing in reruns later on. Group member Sendog did an interview down the road and said, "It would have been cool to do Saturday Night Live again, but me personally, I didn't think it was a great thing to do our first time on SNL, but we paid the price and we moved on. Probably for the best." Taking over our number 4 spot is Andy Kaufman. While most people get banned after their performance in a private professional setting, that didn't happen to Andy when he got banned from the show. He went on the show in 1983, and the producer at the time, Dick Ebersol, banned him in a more dramatic and personal way. Andy had actually appeared on the show many times during the first season, being a huge contribution to the early days of SNL. But his jokes and acting were always very unpredictable and a lot of the times inappropriate. He was kind of known for that. But during one episode, the producer had enough and decided to make a show of it by asking the audience whether Andy should stay or leave the show. He literally did it on the spot and put Andy's fate in the hands of the audience. The final tally was $195,000 for removing him from the show and $169,000 for keeping him on. So he was kicked off the show and was not allowed to return, and sadly, he passed away just a year after this happened. Rolling into spot number 3 is Steven Seagal. One thing that never goes over well in the entertainment industry is showing up to a job with a negative attitude and an ego. When the martial artist slash action movie star went on SNL as a guest host back in 1991, he went into it with a bit of a critical attitude. He struggled to make the sketches work and criticized the rest of the cast and the writing staff, which is highly offensive. And when he tried to rework some of the sketches on his own, they did not quite hit that comedic mark that SNL strives for. One former SNL cast member, Tim Meadows, recalled working with him and said, "He just wasn't very funny and he was very critical of the cast and the writing staff. He didn't realize that you can't tell somebody they're stupid on Wednesday and expect them to continue writing for you on Saturday." For that, he was asked to not return to the show. Not surprised. Making her way into number 2 is Louise Lasser. She was best known for her role in the 1970s soap opera Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. So fans were excited to find out that she'd be hosting SNL, but it seemed like she wasn't as excited as they were. In fact, reports say she had a miserable time hosting and didn't want to do it. Even though she's not the first one on our list, she was actually the very first person to ever get banned from SNL. So she basically started it all. During her opening monologue, she mentioned that her TV show character, Mary Hartman, was in the middle of having a nervous breakdown. She then started to emulate her character and started rambling about how scared she was to be on live television. At first, people thought she was just acting and playing up this character, but then she ran off stage and locked herself in her dressing room, mid-performance. Other cast members tried to coax her out of the room, but only Chevy Chase was successful. But even after the show continued on, she kept forgetting her lines, and the episode ended with her sitting on the studio floor talking about her personal problems. She was banned from the show, but in 2013, she did an interview and said she intentionally made it look like she was having a breakdown because she didn't want to perform the sketches that they had written for her. So it was kind of like a planned out tantrum on stage as a way to prove a point. Last but not least, in our number 1 spot is Kanye West. He has appeared as a musical guest on the show more than 7 times and always gave killer performances that the fans expected. But one performance was not like the rest. During an episode in 2018, he brought his own set pieces, light shows, special effects, and even costumes. He and Lil Pump performed a song, and they did it while wearing huge movement-restricting water bottle costumes. Was it weird? Yes. But since Kanye was held in such high regard with SNL, they allowed him a 3rd performance in that episode. Rather than just playing a song, he delivered a speech in praise of former President Donald Trump while wearing one of his Make America Great Again hats. Not what he was invited on the show to do. NBC actually cut the speech short for viewers, and even when SNL's 90-minute time slot ran out, Kanye just continued to walk around the stage dismissing allegations of racism that were shot at Trump and criticized the mainstream media. Reports say he was banned from returning to the show, even though Kanye insisted on Twitter that he was asked to host the show. We're not really sure, but I have a feeling he got in some trouble for that. All right, guys, that is our list today. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss another one. I was your host, Joss Bedard. I will see you next time. Bye.